Hey everyone, my name is Wedge. We've got spoilers to talk about. But first, new intro time, go! Between midday spoilers yesterday and daily MTG spoilers this morning, we have a ton to talk about. Our first spoiler is Soldier of the Pantheon. We saw Tormented Hero yesterday, but this guy is just so much better. 1 white for a 2/1 that has protection from multicolor. In addition, whenever an opponent casts a multicolored spell, you gain 1 life. This guy is crazy good. Not to mention, he's obviously a human. Boros aggro decks are going to be very strong, and a lot of people are ignoring them in favor of red-green. A white-red or even white-red-green aggro strategy could easily see play in New Standard, and there is no reason to think that this guy won't be in those decks. A 2/1 for 1 has been good since Savannah Lions, and it won't stop being good now. The next card on our list is Prognostic Sphinx. Try to ignore his uncanny resemblance to Dumbledore. For 3 colorless and 2 blue, you get a 3/5 flyer. You can discard a card from your hand to give him hexproof until end of turn and tap him. Lastly, whenever he attacks, scry 3. Okay, first thing, discard abilities in blue control decks shouldn't be underestimated. I can't count the amount of times I have dead cards in a control matchup. Protecting him shouldn't be that hard. More importantly, scry 3? That's crazy! You'll know what you're drawing for the rest of the game. I'm not saying this card is going to be a bomb in Standard, but I can see where people would consider running it. If you can lay this down and protect it, he is going to do some serious deck fixing. He's not nearly as bad as most Sphinxes. Wizards has been talking about a future shifted card for a while now. They were hyping up that they were bringing back a card from Future Sight. Everyone was really excited. One of the most common theories was that Daybreak Coronet would get reprinted. This would make perfect sense considering it's a $20 card and Wizards is trying to make Modern affordable. In addition, it provides 2 white mana towards Devotion. This should have been a no-brainer. However, it was not meant to be. The reprint is Nessie and Courser. I don't often talk down cards because I think there's a use for most any card, but the Courser's use isn't what bothers me. This is just underwhelming. We were made excited thinking that we were going to get some bonkers Future Sight card, and we end up with a 3-mana 3/3 vanilla creature. Granted, sets need vanilla creatures, I get that. And after all, the Courser was meant to preview a Greek mythology-based setting, but why the hype for the card so long? I don't know about you guys, but after that build-up, I expected something a little more exciting. In stark contrast to the aforementioned, one of the coolest spoilers today is Spellheart Chimera. For 1 colorless and 1 blue and 1 red, you get a flying trample star 3. Its power is equal to the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. This is really good, especially in blue-red decks. Blue-white-red control already runs mainly off sorceries and instants. It wouldn't be ridiculous to think that this guy could come out turn 4 or 5 as a 4/3 flyer for 3 or even bigger. Flying helps with evasion, and if your opponent is stuck without a way to kill it, he will beat for more and more as the game goes on. This is a control player's dream. In addition, remember that deck we talked about with Perforos, Young Pyromancer, Gutter Snipe, and all that stuff? This would go amazingly well in that deck. This could end up being a real thing, and that is awesome. The ordeal of Perforos was spoiled to us when the Heroes vs. Monsters deck lists were revealed. Today we finally got the rest of the ordeal cycle. Each of these ordeals costs 1 colorless and 1 of its color. Each of them is an enchant creature aura that says whenever enchanted creature attacks, put a 1/1 counter on it. Then, if it has 3 or more 1/1 counters on it, sacrifice the enchantment. The difference among the cards is what happens when you sacrifice the enchantment. On the Ordeal of Heliod, you gain 10 life. On Thassa's, you draw 2 cards. On Erebos', target player discards 2 cards. And on Nilia's, you search your library for up to 2 basic land cards and put them into play tapped. I've mentioned cheap auras before, and these do the job. Some of these ordeals have crazy abilities. Thassa's getting you 2 cards, that's really good. Gaining 10 life is nuts in an aggro or mid-range deck. Green decks look for Rampant Growth all the time, and this ordeal gives you 2 of them. I'd say the weakest of the 5 is Erebos' discard. While Mind Rot isn't objectively bad, Just that of the 5 given, it's the least impactful. I expect most of these to see play, especially in fast strategies. Stick any of these on a Soldier of the Pantheon turn 2, and you've just created a monster that needs to be stopped immediately. They provide so much board presence for 2 mana, they will make an impact in Standard in addition to their craziness in Limited. Next, we have Fabled Hero, because Wizards loves giving white double strike creatures. The hero is 1 colorless and 2 white for a 2/2 double striker. Whenever you cast a spell that targets him, put a 1/1 counter on him. Heroic is an ability that a lot of people are going back and forth about, but in this case, it's so good! Every time you trigger the ability, the hero gains 2 power worth of reach. Play this guy, next turn, add an Ordeal and attack, and you have a 4/4 double strike on turn 4. What? This card is awesome! Don't let anyone tell you different. He provides an immediate presence and must be dealt with quickly because as soon as you target him, things get ugly, fast. Our next card is Agent of Fates. Looks like a modern day Royal Assassin to me. For 1 colorless and 2 black, you get a 3/2 with Death Touch. If you target him with a spell, each opponent sacrifices a creature. I've done a lot of thinking about this card. The 3/2 isn't ideal, but he has Death Touch, so he blocks and attacks pretty well, taking everything without first strike down with him. His heroic ability is what has me thinking. From what we've seen, there aren't great black auras yet, and being 2 black mana is pretty heavy into that color. To play him effectively, you'll need a deck that targets him with off-color auras. I'm not quite sure what color I would recommend right now, but black-green seems particularly dirty with Boon Satyr, so that is something to think about. Our last spoiler today is Anger of the Gods. Scars of Mirrodin block was pretty terrible as far as power level is concerned, but Slagstorm was one of the best cards in Besieged and possibly the entire block. Anger of the Gods brings it back in a big way, forcing creatures into exile if they die. This card is perfect for control decks. This annihilates the early game of most red-white, red-green, or white-red-green strategies. There is already some pretty strong board sweep in the form of Supreme Verdict and Ratchet Bomb, but Anger of the Gods is going to be an auto-include in any control deck running red. It has to be. Board sweepers are sought after right now because everyone is expecting aggro decks to dominate right after rotation like they always do. Pick up this card. It's going to be really strong. That's it for spoilers today. We had a ton of playable cards spoiled, and I want to know which ones are your favorites. Personally, I gotta go with the Spellheart Chimera. That guy is hilarious. As always, subscribe below for the most up-to-date and reliable spoiler information you could ever need. This is the Mana Source, I'm Wedge, thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.